Wait, is anyone writing this down?
The last drama that I finished watching is Mr. Sunshine. Have you all seen that?
I know about it.
Oh,
I've never seen it.
well, it's a Netflix drama, 2018. I think 2018, maybe earlier. You know how if there was any like drama that expressed the anti-Japanese sentiment in Korean society, it is this. Like, it's super explicit because it's based on history. It's like the invasion of Korea, pretty anti-Japanese, and it's just interesting to watch. Like, it's like such a political statement in a modern drama.
I think a lot of people in the West don't realize just how impactful Japan was on all of Asia when it came to the wars, because of the fact that like they themselves committed many of the things that the Germans did. It's just that our society has somehow managed to ignore that, and I don't know how that happened.
Well, I think, first of all, so I have a Japanese godmother who's married to a third generation Chinese person. So, and they both live in California, and they're really into Korean. They're really into Korean dramas and everything. And until she was like learning about all of this stuff, like whether it was at Korean school or through the dramas, my godmother said to my mom, you know, and my mom speaks Japanese because she learned it in high school. She said, we were not taught this in Japan. We were not taught about all of the wrongdoings that Japan did during that time. So like I wouldn't like, maybe it's different now, but when she was growing up, no one taught that. No one taught like all of the injustices like that happened to the rest of Asia.
I learned my comfort woman history from Asian Boss, you know.
Really?
I didn't learn that at school.
I love Asian Boss.
Exactly.
No, but right, this is like, you know, it's shocking, and like, you know, all of this stuff, like I know because my mom knows because my grandma knows, and she like, so my grandma was born in 1929. So my grandma was like a teenager, I think, and she was very beautiful, but they had to hide her in one of those like we call hangari, but like those big things where like, you know, you pickle kimchi and stuff like an entire human body can fit. Like she was hidden there so the Japanese wouldn't take her.
In a kimchi pot.
Well, like I'm like just using it as an example. But like the stuff that you bury underground, like those.
Yeah.
I've been in one. It was really fun.
Oh my God, Helen. The important part is that like I never blame Japan for whatever their ancestors did, you know, because I know that humanely speaking, not everyone believes that. Like I don't blame Japan as a nation like right now. Like it's clear like what they did was, you know, these were tactics of war. If a Japanese person like knew about this, like I would assume that they would think that it's wrong. There's another Korean drama that I remember. It's called 1945. It is a little bit historical fiction, like the main plot, I think, but the overall everything that happened is true. In regards to like before the Korean War.
I feel like a lot of Asian American and Asian Canadian people, like, and youth specifically, turn to dramas not only as a source of entertainment but as a source to understand like your culture. And like it's amazing how much about like history, and I know a lot of these stories are fictional, but it is amazing that so many of these stories are our introduction to understanding the history of our parents and our grandparents. And like that's why even when a drama does head towards a maybe heavier subject, it is something important because you're seeing something from a different perspective. You're seeing history from that perspective. You're seeing parts of your culture from that perspective. It's amazing that so many of us, we don't really learn about the culture of our parents and our grandparents unless we watch media like that.
I was rewatching this drama that's set during World War II in Shanghai. With Esme, who's not able to be with us today, unfortunately.
That's fine.
So like we all watched it as kids, but like she and I got to rewatch it this spring, and it was really amazing. And we were both like, oh my God, like it's completely different watching it as an adult, our blood were boiling. We're like, oh my God, like, I can't believe this was done to the people. That was back when like Shanghai was divided into like 5, 10, so many different pieces among foreigners. And then the poor areas were inhabited by Chinese natives. And then all the good areas or the safe grounds were inhabited by the French, by American, by British, by the Portuguese. And they have all the good land. And that was not fair in any way.
Hong Kong was like that too, and so was Singapore. It's a really sad story that, colonization itself was such a negative thing for the actual people of the place, because it was, a different group of people taking charge and making money and profit off of the work of people who couldn't even live in the same areas as the people making the money. So, and that's the thing, a lot of these dramas do cover that. Like, all this media is such a great introduction to seeing that side of history.
And it's something that we need to know about ourselves, this is something that our children should know, because this is where their roots are.
Right.
Exactly.
I think dissecting colonization too is something that I never thought about growing up. I never was taught that in history. I never was posed those questions on the impact of colonization, or what that really means on, how to respond to that history.
Western media is doing a better job, like the past few years, in giving better representation to especially Asian men, which makes me happy.
Yeah.
And which makes like other people happy as well. And I'm glad for that. I mean, in general, they've been doing a very good job in that sense. So
I think they're doing a better job. I don't know if they're doing a great job.
That's what I didn't say that they're doing a great job.
Right.
I said they're doing a better job.
I mean,
they are doing a better job.
Asian Bachelorette video, the Asian Bachelorette.
Wong Fu,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that exists is just, it's poking fun at the fact that it's so weird to see that on screen.
And the fact that you have to say the Asian Bachelorette.
Right, exactly.
Not just the Bachelorette, but Asian Bachelorette.
Asian Bachelorette.
Yeah, that's another thing that Alice and I have been talking about. It's really weird that if there's something that's Asian country related, there has to be the Chinese New Year, the Chinese myth, the Korean myth, the Japanese myth. But with any European mythology or holidays, that doesn't happen. It's just very strange to me.
I think there is definitely a problem between what the audience want versus what Hollywood thinks the audience wants when it comes to this. I mean, it's also the same with our business, right? That's why a lot of young Asians in North America turn to Asian media, is because, I don't know, Jeremy, if it was like this for you in Australia, but at least here in Canada, growing up, you never see an Asian male in a TV series. It may be reality TV, maybe scripted TV. You never see that on screen. For me in Canada, it wasn't until Kim's Convenience came out that I actually got to see all of that type of representation on screen. But that's, I think, in a way, what leads so many of us to turn to dramas as our main form of watching entertainment at home, because you're I want to see somebody on screen that looks like me, or has a cultural perspective that is similar to mine. I think we all agree on that. But what I've noticed though is for example, when Fresh Off the Boat was put on TV, a lot of the first reactions from people were oh, it's just a show that is showcasing an Asian family. I'm that is not the whole point of the show. The point of the show is to show the immigrant experience in America, and also the first and second generation experience in America, because that's the thing, is we didn't get that growing up. We never got to witness watching first generation Australian, second generation Australian, or first generation American, second generation American on screen.
We got Friends, The OC, Seinfeld, Simpsons.
And then that forces this weird dichotomy where you're going, how come on the media I witness in North America, I see this representation of masculinity, or this representation of femininity, this representation of romance, and then you watch Asian media and you're it's a completely different concept.
Right. So thank you for joining WYP for our first episode of Drunk on Drama. We all have our assignments, and next time we'll see you, we'll be talking about Crash Landing on You.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.